Okay, so we're gonna go to Seth, and I'm just gonna play it real time for you, Will. Tell me what you see. He's doing some back squats. Okay, you want to slow it down? Anything you notice off the bat with it, Will?
Yeah, slow it down just a little bit on that first rep.
Okay.
So choppies, anything. I'm gonna have to do some nitpicking here.
I got one or two things, but I want to
Okay.
see what you see first. So don't feel, if you don't see anything, you don't see anything. Because here's the thing, Seth's got a good squat.
He does. He's a very mobile, flexible individual.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think the issue with him would be kind of engagement in the right places. But
we can't see this. You see his foot now? Let's look at his feet. That was in the way.
Yeah, that's actually what I was trying to look at.
Okay, what do you notice about his stance here?
It's kind of tough to see his feet because of the shadow. It's a little blurry for me. But
to me, it looks like the right foot is forward here.
I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
So I think like he's got a bit of a staggered stance.
Okay.
Is what I'm seeing.
It might be the rack too. It could be his feet.
Okay. So let's back up to the first one. Now what I see is a little bit of a butt wink here, or kind of this bottoming out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could be related to tension on this right side. Usually what I see, when I see somebody with a staggered stance like that and 1 foot forward, we don't have a ton of connection in this side. So
Okay.
and I can't remember, but I feel like on this one you can kind of see it might be tough to see from your screen there, but look at his right heel come up a hair in the bottom.
Yeah.
Right here. Okay, so I think what's happening there is he's losing tension in his glutes, and then that's causing that kind of that rounding there, or of his little bit of a butt wink there, right there.
Yeah.
So see it kind of go down, and at the same time the heel's coming up. So I think what he's doing is he's losing connection.
And I think it's because he relies, and he squats a lot like I do, so I can speak to that. He relies on a stretch reflex at the bottom. He's a very, very hippie squatter. So, yeah, his hips are kind of going in like a little bit of a semicircle down to the bottom of the squat, and that's when his butt kind of winks, like you said. And then he's going to drive the hips up first again once he has that stretch reflex. You can see the hips are always going to come up first when you have that kind of range of motion. But I actually think he does a decent job when it comes to like quad engagement. He's able to
look here though. Look how big toe does big toe look up or down from there?
The left one looks up, but I can't tell. I can't tell on the other one.
For me, I think that it comes up right here.
Yep. So he's kind of driving his hips back.
Right. So I think he's losing some like VMO engagement there. And I think that's connected to like his obliques, glute max on this side. And so we're just, that chain's kind of getting broken there. I don't know what it is, but hip flexors in there too. So I think for what I'd like to see with Seth is for him to limit his depth. Like he's going way past where like he's good here. I mean, really like here is below parallel. And then you see he's going all the way down there.
Yep.
So what I'd like to see Seth do is limit his depth with something. So use some sort of, and see, maybe even flat-footed here, and see what's the tension feel like big toe, little toe, heel, especially on the right side. I think we can also have him, I'd also like to have, I'm going to send this to Seth, but is like check in with your stance. Is that right foot forward of the left foot, or are they even? And what, you know, what's funny about this, if anybody is looking at squats and notices this, it's going to feel like if you ask Seth, his feet, and you know, it is a little difficult to tell, but I'm banking on the fact that it is a little bit forward. It's going to feel like it's perfect for him.
Yep.
So moving it back is going to be uncomfortable at first, but it's a compensation that our body has created in order to allow us to do the movement or to get to the end goal of what we're looking for here. So
yeah, I think if you do that and you're really focused, like you said, on the 3 points of contact in the feet, in both feet, that's going to help him. It is going to be tough having him use less range of motion though, because he's so mobile.
Yeah, Seth's a good athlete though. He can figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he may need to practice it. It's not something that's going to happen all the time, or it's going to happen on the first get. But that's part of what we do to get better. I see some movement in his mid back that's probably connected to right here.
Okay.
That might be connected also to his to that same kind of chain being broken. So what I would like to see, like later on, we can look at that and see if that's the next layer of it. But ideally that spine stays neutral, and I see it move a little bit in there. So yeah, Seth, let's do those things. Let's fix your stance and use a line or something to see where you are. Let's limit your depth and see if we can create tension the whole way, big toe, little toe, heel. And maybe barefoot might be the way to do it. But glad you're here. Thanks for submitting video.
Thanks, Seth.
I got a question about that.
Okay.
So all things equal, if you can do a squat all the way to that level of range of motion that he has, is there an advantage to doing that over limiting your range of motion?
Is there an advantage to not going as far down?
No, is there an advantage to ass to the grass, basically?
First thing I think of is catching in the Olympic lifts, catching a heavier weight. You can pull a heavier weight in a lower, deeper position. So the bar doesn't have to travel as far. But then you can expound on that.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. That's a reason. That's where it would be an advantage. Mm-hmm. You can get a bounce out of the bottom too.
Okay.
So you don't have to pull as high. And if you do have good depth, now all of a sudden you get down on, you're down faster. So just the point Will made. And the other point is you can use some momentum there.
Okay.
But here we're back squatting, and, I think like the advantage isn't there now. Well, and it's kind of the way I think about it is there's two sides to it. One is I'm trying to just complete the movement. And I want to complete the movement, and I have this task or this objective mindset. Or do I have the mindset of, hey, I'm trying to get better and I'm trying to get stronger? Like, then that would kind of dictate what I was doing there. So
will you get stronger limiting your range of motion? Like, will you still, because I have to limit my range of motion to keep away from some of those issues that you guys talked about. So will you still get stronger? I mean, obviously you're not going to hurt yourself, but do you still build as much strength, limiting your range of motion?
I think you will get stronger in the range of motion that you're training in.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Well, for me, the way I think about it is, and I agree with what Will said, but I think like I want to try and be strong throughout the entire lift. And here's the thing: if the chain that we're talking about with Seth is broken, and he's not using his glutes at the bottom, and he's disconnected from his obliques and maybe hip flexor, that's going to show up in other things that he does.
Yeah.
You know, so that would be the point of being able to train that. But it kind of depends. Like if you're just going for straight up raw numbers, like then you can do, you know, you're going to compensate and move poorly, but there's costs that are going to come with that later on down the road. And they may not show up for years, you know, like I didn't start out having knee pain.
Right.
You know, it was 4 years in from catching power cleans with my knees super far forward that created that. Yeah,
well, I mean, I do have to limit because it is an issue, but I always thought like, well, what am I losing? So but that's helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, maybe it's an opportunity. You're losing an opportunity to fix something. Another good way to that Seth, he'll see this if he's still listening, that he can work on is that helps me figure out how far down I need to go is and this is a little bit opposite of what Will was saying earlier, but then again, I'm working on something as opposed to trying to maximize the output, right? Would be if I can breathe in on the way down and then breathe out on the way up. And I'll breathe in through my nose. That will dictate, as long as I can continue to breathe in, that's how far down I can maintain tension. So that would be a way you could practice it. And you can practice that with, you know, just in an air squat. But then it tells me, okay. And then what we do is we kind of develop, and we've got the motor control that allows me to go so far down.
Yeah.
And then work on that, and then it can kind of get a little further and a little further and a little further, and all of a sudden I'm more efficient in my squat. And then it takes some practice of being able to do that with load. But those are that's another piece that can help with that.
Okay.
All right, we got one more here. One more from Laura. Okay. Can you guys see Laura there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna just play this. Okay, cool. So first thing let's look at where Laura's hands are. Look where her grip is. And we've talked about this a little bit today. So you can see the grip is a little wider. So I like that. I can't tell here if she's got a hook grip, but I like that her knuckles are punched down. Okay. And then let's go back to her initial setup. So good setup here, other than I'd like to see her chin up a little bit more, looking straight ahead. And I think about that for multiple reasons. And maybe not the least important of those is just from a confidence standpoint. If I'm looking up, looking straight ahead, like I have a different confident feel here as opposed to having my head down. And I know we're just like, it's clear Laura was working on her high hang cleans here, but just like it's just a matter of habit. I think I like the first pull off the ground and that shoulders stay over the bar real nice. So the rest of it looks good. I would just fix the gaze would be there. Will, do you want to take a look at this? How confident do you feel with this one? This is a high hang here. So I'll just play it again for you.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you like about these?
So from the jump, she's pretty good at, it looks like she's got some good tension in her back, as evidenced by her ability to hold that bar in her hip crease. And then roll forward a little bit slower. Okay, keep
How do
going.
you feel about shoulders there?
Pretty good.
Okay.
I'd like to see the elbows probably drive up a little bit more.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like she's got just that last little bit of kind of elbows coming up that she's skipping. But
What
the shoulder shrug is there.
Do you know any what helpful things to help with that, Will?
I mean, I'm always thinking about if I could cut it down to 2 words: vertical elbows.
Okay.
Because I'm very back dominant, and I'm always wanting to pull the bar back so my elbows go back. But you kind of maximize all that extension and that jump if your elbows go. If you think about your elbows going straight up.
Yeah. One thing that I like, I'll shift it here so you guys can see. One thing that I've learned that's been really helpful for me is from this position, if I can rotate my shoulders here, it kind of gets a little bit easier position rather than here. Okay, so I'll kind of turn them out this way, and that helps me get them vertical here as opposed to here. So that's a trick you can play around with from that position and see if that helps. It just like when you do it, it feels a little bit more natural. So I'm here as opposed to here. And then that's just going to give us more time and more room there, right, Will?
Gotcha.
Yeah, it just allows us to, because when we're thinking about the clean or the snatch, that third pull, we are actually pulling ourselves down and around the bar.
Yep.
Whereas from here, like I don't have as much room. From this way, now I can pull myself under and kind of be faster with those elbows. So often like it's a nuancy thing about the Olympic lifts, but we're actually pulling ourselves down as opposed to allowing it to crash. So that's a good cue. We can get those elbows a little higher there.
There's something, I'm trying to put my finger on it, but so she keeps the bar back in her hip crease before she pulls. And I'm having trouble, either her hips or her knees aren't extending, I don't think. So you can see there, so she's got a lot of bend in the knees. She's got a really nice vertical torso.
How do you feel about the balance in her feet? She look forward, or does that look even?
I think it looks pretty even. What do you think?
I think so too. It's a little difficult to tell here.
Yeah.
But she goes forward more. So I think that would be something that I would suggest is like, okay, so she's in her high hang position right here.
Right. And then there's a little bit more forward motion.
Well, there is like her dip. Now watch what happens with the knees.
And
the knees shoot forward more.
Yeah.
So and her chest comes forward too, right?
Yep.
So what I'd like to see, and that for me is indicating that maybe we're a little toesy there. So what I'd like to see is, can we press? Yeah, look here. Like you just see the feet, you see the weight shift forward more.
Yep.
And I'd like to see her be pressing from the middle of the foot. I think what we need is a little bit more hamstring engagement here. And you can kind of see it there. You see the knees cave in a little bit. So on
Yep.
the squat, they come in here. That usually is an indicator of like lack of the inside head of the hammies. So we can work on developing some awareness there and just strength. And what I know about Laura and her squat is that we tend to see them come in quite a bit there too. So that would be something that we can work on, is finding the hamstrings. But just from this standpoint, let's watch the second one. Second one's not as bad. In fact, the chest stays much taller in this one. Now we see the knees come in here, but they don't go forward in this one. Okay, so I'd like to see those knees kind of continue in this position. Shoulders look better here. How do you feel about this finish position, Will?
Well, I think I like it. Although I think you just said it. The shoulders rolled forward a little bit at the last second.
Maybe. I mean, she's got pretty good extension there.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
It's the same thing with the elbows in this one.
Yep.
Okay, and then let's watch the last one more, just see if we see anything else.
I think she starts pulling a little early. You can kind of see the strain in her shoulders and her neck, like right away there.
Yeah. So we should be, arms should be more like ropes there as opposed to stiff, right?
Right.
I'd agree with that. And I think that's probably the one she got better extension on the other two. Some of that might have been her getting tired.
Yeah, that seems like it's fatigue.
Cool. So to sum up with Laura, we would say we think we can work on, first thing would be trying to get those elbows a little higher getting your elbows higher in your second pull so you can pull yourself around in the third pull. And the way in which we can do that is one way we can try and work on just kind of rotating your elbows out a little bit, see if that helps you get here a little bit better. And a great way to do that is with the Bergner warm-up. So the second thing we do in the Bergner warm-up is the elbows high and outside. So we're practicing this here. While we're also working on that, Laura, you can work on the timing of making sure that your hips extend before we start to shrug. Remember that in the snatch and the clean, the shrug is what initiates our pull under the bar. So we're actually starting to pull ourselves down at that point. So, and then maybe taking a look at some consistency with, are the knees shooting forward again after that dip instead of going up? So we want to try and get a little bit more vertical in that, from that high hang position. But high hang is a very tough thing to do, and it looks like she's got 85 pounds there. So overall, like the speed, like the squat, I think we can work on the inside head of the hammies, or kind of trying to get a little bit better hamstring engagement in the squat. And I think that's it. So cool. That's all the videos we have for today, gang. Does anybody have any questions or things they want clarification on?
Yo, one thing I got for you. So I don't hook grip on my cleans. There's no need to. So why would you suggest I would try to do that? I hate that on a clean because I feel like it doesn't let my wrist turn over. It hurts my thumbs. And like I said, for my grip, it doesn't matter to me. So why would you suggest doing that?
Why have a hook grip? Well, so hook grip's going to be the strongest grip that we have. And it's going to, the first thing I think about is that if I'm hook gripping, I'm sending a clear signal to my brain that I'm in control of the bar and that I can handle the weight. Because if I can't hold it, that sends a signal like it's not going to allow you to finish your pull. That would be the first thing. the second piece to that, Nick, is I wonder how that works once we widen your grip a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
So, and Will, you got anything you want to add to that?
For the longest time, I didn't hook grip either. But as the weight got heavier and I'd start to fatigue and lose my grip as I pulled to my hip, I would then send tension to my hands and my forearms. What the hook grip allows you to do is to send tension elsewhere and not even think about holding onto the bar. So at a maximal weight, I mean, if you're really getting up there, like you said, you're up around 300 plus pounds, it's a real benefit to you, I think.
Yeah, I love that point, Will. That's awesome. I don't think about that and know that as well for myself, and that's where, when we're holding that weight, it is like ropes. Our arms are like ropes there. When I get here, all of a sudden I have way more tension here, as opposed to now I can drive more. And
Right.
Nick, what this is going to do is, so it's very clear to me that you got a ton of ceiling left.
Right.
Just from a raw strength standpoint. Like when we start getting you pressing your quads into the ground more, you're going to be able to pull even more weight off the ground. And so fixing it now, that way that isn't your limiter. And then you're also going to see some like mechanical advantages that happen from being there. Now all of a sudden I'm driving more with my legs. That might help us get those hips extended a little bit more too. That could be the key that unlocks it, to where, Will was saying it looked like there was a little bit of, we got some more on the table there, or we're not getting fully extended, like there's more there. The hook grip could be a kind of a key log to unlock that.
That's a good point. Because I would totally cut my pulls short simply because, and maybe it was subconsciously, but simply because my grip was giving out as I got higher in weight. It would literally affect my pull. So that's a good point. I know you probably have pretty strong grip, but it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. Anybody else got any other questions, thoughts they want to add? No? Cool. Awesome. This was fun. Glad you guys were here. We went a little bit over. I didn't even realize that the hour flew by. So we'll keep this going. And my thought will be, we'll keep it going even when the gym opens back up. That way, if you guys want to submit stuff and we want to break it down, this will be some time we can nerd out a little bit. Okay. Cool, gang.
Thanks, guys.
Glad you guys are here. Have a great night.
Thanks, guys.
Guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
See ya.